Hi, everybody. This is Drew Tomlin with the Association for Middle Level Education, and I'm joined today on this Google Hangout by Samina Hadi-Tabassum, and she is an assistant professor of literacy and elementary education at Northern Illinois University, and also, of course, the awesome author of this article you're checking out in AMLE magazine entitled "Tag It: Graffiti in the Classroom." So clearly, gosh, the article title itself is a grabber, Samina. So we really wanted to hear more about this effort to use graffiti in the classroom to promote comprehension. Really super great. So thanks for taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you. So should we talk about this title?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with that. So yeah, what inspired you to take the idea of graffiti and use it to promote literacy for young adolescents? Go ahead.
So I actually thought of the concept for the graffiti murals when I was a literacy specialist with Children's Literacy Initiative in Newark, New Jersey. Nice. But prior to that, I've always had a love of graffiti. I know that some people love it and some people hate it. Some people think it's vilifying. Others think it's art. Mm-hmm. I've always thought of graffiti as art, but at the same time, I know that I've seen pictures of New York City in the 70s, which is kind of alarming when you look at how much graffiti there was. But currently there is a resurgence of graffiti, especially with Banksy, the French artist.
Yes.
French artist who is now putting graffiti up all around the cities and getting people to read it. And so definitely that was what was inspiring. But the argument here is that it's also part of adolescence life. When I was a middle school teacher and kids used to always tag the desks with sometimes not always nice words, bathrooms. So I think as a middle school teacher, we always see it as a bane of our existence of sort, but it is public art. It's something that is shared, and it's a way to convey messages to the public. But it's definitely a part of everyone's life, but it seems to create it creates either a love of it or a hatred of it. It kind of puts people in two kind of groups. But that's really what kind of inspired me, looking at graffiti as public art.
Awesome. Well, as a fan of the visual arts myself, and those that are accepted as the formal standard art as well as the non-standard, I appreciate your efforts here. I like Banksy too. I think he does great stuff. Anyway, so with all that said, and obviously graffiti is a form of text and a form of literacy expression. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your efforts here. So going to the meat of the article itself, you talk about the graffiti mural. How could the graffiti mural be used in an interdisciplinary way to connect the content areas, to even teach social emotional learning, perhaps?
That's a great question. So when I teach my literacy development class, I've got students in my class who teach pre-K, I've got students who teach high school, and that's a common question from my secondary middle school teachers is how can I bring this into my content area classroom? So we start by defining what a text is, right? So the graffiti mural is a response to a text. That text could be a piece of literature, it could be a response to poetry, but it also could be a response to a mathematical formula, a math problem. So I've had teachers, for example, put up a math problem and have students, quote unquote, tag their response on a Post-it and put it onto the graffiti mural. I've had science teachers use an article that they found in a journal and then have students respond to that as a text. I've seen it also in history classes where you might have a debate about a historical event and have students tag that as well. So what the text is that they're responding to could be varied. It could be a piece of fiction, it could be a nonfiction, but I found that it allowed for full participation of everybody and having them respond to that text. And so therefore, it could be used even in a preschool classroom and having them respond to a book that you're reading aloud with young children.
Right, I like that. Thank you for explaining that further, because clearly, like you said, the foundation of it, if you have a foundation of a text, then a text could be whatever you define as text, be it fiction, nonfiction, be it visual, or whatever. But the point is giving students a way to express about that text. So that makes lots of sense. So for other advice, for teachers who are, let's say, on the fence about doing a graffiti mural or a board with their students, what are some potential challenges that they should consider before doing this project if they feel it's a little edgy or dangerous or anything like that?
Well, I think, like, first of all, I'm thinking that teachers might think that because I'm not artistic, I might not be able to meet the aesthetic needs of it. So I think it's important that the meaning of that graffiti mural is not the images that you're attaching to the mural, but it's really creating responses to that text. So I've had students feel intimidated by, creating some kind of a motif that goes with that particular text. But I tell them it doesn't necessarily have to be something you draw. It could be something you've Xeroxed and then put up on there, like in a collage fashion as well, or even having your middle school students decorate it, right? So if you are doing an article on amoebas and you can't really get it onto that butcher paper, you might have some of your students draw it as well. But I think the most important part is to create a safe classroom environment that allows everybody to participate, creating a safe space where everyone's words are valued, regardless of the ability of the child or regardless if the child has special needs or ELL. So having this opportunity to tell students that, look, all responses are going to be valued and that we're not here to riddle anybody's response, but this is about creating a collective dialogue and having a shared dialogue about a text together as a class. So for example, you might put up a comprehension question and then have everybody in the classroom respond on that post-it and come up and tag that graffiti mural with that post-it, but that creates an open space for everyone to take part in this very kind of collective, almost like a performance art of sort, where everyone is collectively sharing their thoughts on a particular text.
Right, and it's inclusive as well. So it's not like performance art just for a select few people who are, quote unquote, the best exemplary students, but all students can participate in this piece of performance art. That's really super cool. Yeah. So I mean, clearly the benefits to students are clear, like you said. What are some potential benefits to teachers themselves and to school culture and climate by doing more of this tagging and graffiti in the classroom?
I find that part of my assignment is not only completing the graffiti mural, but then taking that graffiti mural and putting it in a public space. So all of my teachers are amazed as to how many kids stop by in the hallway and read their students' responses on those post-its, from young students to older students to administrators to other teachers, and they literally stop in the hallway and they're reading. So it also kind of harks back to this argument about we need more words, we need more authentic print in our hallways that's from the students' voices, and the students love reading each other's responses as well. So it gets into this idea that of reading being a collective endeavor, it's a shared process, and that it's not just about the teacher as the audience, but when you expand that audience and tell the students that the graffiti mural will be out in the hallway for everyone to see and to read, it just gives them a greater pride in the words that they're putting down onto paper.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And there's some folks who might argue and say, well, gosh, this could be done through a technological format as well, through Twitter or through Padlet or through something like that. But what I really find engaging about this is that it's a low-tech option. It's something that, like, it's a physical thing that kids can walk by and stop by and read. It's not something that they have to click on or search for. It's right there. So I think that part of it too is very, it's great. It's great. So well done.
I've actually used it in classrooms in India, in the slums of India. I've used this literacy technique where there's hardly any electricity, let alone running water, and I bring my Post-its with me. And in some schools, there are no Post-its, so we just take pieces of paper and we tape it onto a piece of paper. But yeah, it works. It's very low tech. You can see that it can be applied to any particular context, and finding that you got to do what you can and use whatever materials you can. But it is the idea, even the children in India were just amazed of reading of each other's words as well.
That is great. Well, thank you for bringing that international perspective as well as a socioeconomic perspective, that those different variables shouldn't inhibit this kind of innovative practice. So that's terrific. And clearly, since you are an advanced learner and teacher, Samina, I'm going to take you on a metaphorical journey to continue to expand your mind, if you don't mind. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, you ready for it? And so here it goes. If graffiti murals were a food for middle level education, what kind of food would they be and why?
I would say maybe a multi-layered lasagna, in the sense that graffiti is, you know, one of those, it has a template and then you keep adding onto it. There are different layers that you can add onto it. And even in my article, I showed how students can respond to a text, but there's also the potential of building and responding to each other's comments as well on their graffiti mural, and having perhaps even people who are walking down the hallway commenting on what they've read as well. So it allows for that multi-textured type of a weaving of words together, and the complexity and the multiple layers that go with that.
Wow. I'll tell you what, you knocked it out of the park. But tag that one up on the wall, Samina. Wow. So the lasagna, right? The collective kitchen where you've got multiple cooks adding their feedback and responding to each other to build those layers. And, you know, like any dish that we love, it's got to be done in a warm environment, right? So that not just the oven itself being warm, but the whole classroom being warm and inviting too. So that works really quite well. Well done.
Thank you.
So, gosh, thank you so much, Samina, for not only tackling that metaphorical conclusion, but thank you for your time for the interview today, and thank you for writing this article. Bravo.
Thank you, Drew. Take care.
All right, take care. And take care, everybody out there who's checking out this Hangout and for reading this article in AMLE Magazine, where we help you reach every student, grow professionally, and create great schools. All right, thanks again.
Bye-bye.